Yeah, I think one that changes, and we're fortunate, we do almost all of our cattle work still horseback. But with four-wheelers and side-by-sides, I know a lot of people use those and get along very, very well. I think all three of us have stories of sometime. I know I was home from college. It was winter. He had a group of heifers, and he said, "Hey, there's a heifer up there that's a little sick. Let's go catch her." And I said, "Okay, you want me to go grab a horse?" He said, "No, she is sick. We can just catch her out of the truck and we'll be fine." And then, anyways, sure enough, I stepped out of the truck and I roped her.
Probably first loop.
Absolutely firstly. She was not as sick as she was putting on. Anyways, half mile later, I'm high striding, trying to keep up with her, pulling, and Grandpa, he finally gets up there at the truck, and I don't know, tied off on the grill guard or something, and we finally get her doctored. But we always say we like to do stuff horseback, but all three of us at some time or another, Dad has said, "Hey, I think we can just do it out of the truck. Let's just go up there." Anyways, those we can chalk up to experience and
Building character.
Yeah, character builders.
I'll kind of go down the horse road just a little bit since you mentioned it. So we enjoy doing things horseback. We have not raised horses really. David raises a colt or two here and there, and I know Grandpa had a mare here and there, but as a whole, raising horses was not our thing. But we never owned the high end horses, and what I mean by that is, until just a few years ago, I know. I want to say for all of us, but up till just a few years ago, that we had always said that we never bought a horse that cost more than $1,000. And with that being said, we bought a lot of colts and we just developed them and turned them into something that you could use. And then, we weren't too much on the horse trade, and occasionally you'd sell a horse here or there. But anyway, that was one thing that I don't know if it's something you should be proud of, but that we could kind of take a horse that was kind of average and kind of turn him into something that was pretty decent. And we had a neighbor named Cleo Larimer that we got a lot of good horses from over the years, and we'll talk a little bit more about that maybe coming up. But anyway, he would always say that I sell all my junk stuff to the Scribners because they can make my junk stuff look good.
On the downside of that, like you say, we never treated horses as a business. They were always just a tool for us to use, and we'd get a horse we could use, and we just figured on keeping him for 20 years. And this horse market's these last 15 years has really gotten good, and we've never, our mindset, we never took advantage of that. So that was the downside of that. We'd get one that we thought we could get to working and trying to help us a little bit, and we just kept him, where we probably should have been looking to maybe turn him into cash and buy another $500 horse and get him going again. But whenever we got one that kind of worked like we wanted him to, he was just ours. So,
talking about old Smoke getting in front of that Charolais bull.
Yeah,
he did exactly what he wanted, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we Dad talks about being proud of this area and stuff, and we are. It's, you go to anywhere in the world and you're in cowboy country right here. There's no doubt about it. We were influenced by a lot of good cowboys growing up, and we were able to, when we started rodeo, and I see Randy Peterson out here and Bud, and we are in cowboy country. So we had lots of adventures growing up because of that. And Dad had bought a set of Hereford cows out of Eureka, and I mean, we got them home and they were crazy. They were just crazy. Now, if we were just around them on foot or on truck, we could kind of get along with them, but we'd ride out there with a horse and it was just pure panic. They really, really got goofy. So Dad had thrown a couple of Charolais bulls in there with them, and we went up there one day to pull those bulls off of them, and it was just Dad and I. And them cows, boy, they took off running. We talk about, we could see them a half mile ahead clearing the fence, and it just, that's how crazy they were. And anyway, those bulls were on the back side of them. So, man, Dad and I hustled up there, and man, we got between the cows and the bulls. And of course, the bulls were thinking about the cows, and Dad got his turned, and he was in good shape, and mine was just kept a coming, and he never stopped. He just flat out hit my horse just dead on in the chest, just running as hard as he could. And anyway, it almost knocked me off my horse. And he had some horns on him too, maybe horns like that. And I'm lucky he didn't stick a horn in a stirrup or back cinch or something, but almost knocked me off my horse, and my horse kept his feet. And, and I looked over there at Dad, and Dad says, "Did you see that?" And I said, "No, I had my eyes shut." But anyway, that was just one of the adventures you have out there cowboying. And that horse, about a year later, he started limping on a back leg, and I'm convinced that shocked his spine a little bit when that old bull hit him. So, yep.
Not my earliest horse story, but maybe my earliest horse story I can think of, me trying on my own. I don't know. I was maybe these boys' age, 15, 16, something like that, 14, I don't know. And Grandpa had bought him a colt from Cleo, and he was limping a little bit, and I'd mess with him, and he was 2, and had him saddled and thought he was somewhat gentle. And I told Grandpa that. I said, "Grandpa Lowell," sorry, we referred to my dad as Grandpa too, just because all the grandkids. So, anyways, he just said, "Well, get on him then." I was like, "Okay." So sure enough, thinking I was big time, he was limping. He couldn't do anything too much. I found a fairly big pin, which was mistake number 1. And I crawled right in the middle of that sucker. And I can't even say 8 seconds later, because it was way less than that. I'm buried. That sucker, yeah. But anyway, that was always one of the life lessons I thought Grandpa Lowell taught me was, well, if he's ready, then get on him and get after it. But I also need a little help. So when I don't know where my dad was, but when he got back, he said, "Well, let me help you." And we got in a much smaller pen and got a hold of it, and off we went, and things went well. So, yeah.